Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number, I'm going to guess, 875 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada, always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Tuesday, March 31st, 2026, and it is a very, very gray day here at the Beaver Lodge. In fact, it's rather dark and gray. I don't know if that means that we have some rain or storms coming in the forecast today, but it does not look like it's going to be the nicest of days here at the Beaver Lodge, at least outside. Inside the Beaver Lodge, it's always sunny and warm and welcoming and all that good stuff. And if there's enough beaver moisture in the cup, also a very agreeable level of humidity. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Boom Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and cubs, how is your mental health doing today? I am, well, as you can tell, I'm doing really well today. For those of you who were able to join us for the Eager Beaver afternoon show yesterday, you may have gotten the update, the big news update from Beaver Lodge curling report that our team had a bit of a tougher go of it, but we did squeak out a win. So our second win in the three-match round robin for Division C, our men's senior team. So we are at 2-0. Our fortune is in our hands if we win next week. We're 3-0, and I think we get to go to the C Division final, where hopefully we can win and maybe get a nice little trophy to add to my case. And hopefully next year, because we won the C Division in the regular season, we will move up to B next year, which means that we are in the better half of the teams. We are considered a part of the competitive crew and see where we can go. Pretty excited with my team because we've only been playing together for 3 years to make such a move. But we are gelling really well, and we are playing very well. And since our third has had to move to a stick this year, his game was pretty good to start with, but his game has really improved. It's amazing how quickly he picked up the stick. I've been playing at the stick for 4 years, and I haven't got it down like he has already. So he took to it like a duck to water, and our team has improved a lot. It had improved before he did that. We had moved up from D to a C division, but once he moved to stick, we were very close to moving up to B division. We finished, I think, third after our first round in B, and this is the top 2 teams that move up. But this time we finished first. So, take that. Very excited about that. Have some more curling today and tomorrow. Also, playoffs. First playoff match with my Tuesday competitive team. It's a win and you remain in, lose and you're out and your season's over. So, hopefully, we can extend our season. And then tomorrow will be the first match in the two-person stick, which I have mentioned before. I've been playing very atrociously all season long. The last two matches have been significantly better. Hopefully, I can bring that improvement into the playoffs, and who knows, I may maybe make a surprise run this year. Last year we finished tied for third, I guess. We made it to the semifinal in the playoffs. So we would like to be able to do at least that. Originally, we were hoping to try to maybe win it all this year, but since we've had such a terrible season, we're just glad we got to remain in A division and didn't get booted down. Because yeah, uh, we uh, we have been either been playing terribly at the exact same time, or my partner, who is I just found out a couple of weeks ago, the oldest member of our curling club. Period. Um, or either my partner was playing well and I couldn't do anything to support him, like at all. So I have been the dead weight this year. So hopefully I can redeem myself in the playoffs and salvage the season. Let's put it that way. But I'm very much looking forward to the opportunities. And of course, this week is we go on stage for the benefit that we're doing for the local musical theater company because it couldn't find space that had a theater space that had an opening long enough for us to do a second show this year. So we're trying to do just a little fundraiser, karaoke versions of songs from movie musicals or movies that had some big songs in it, if not movie musicals. On the Thursday and Friday, on the Saturday for the kids, doing a mostly Disney themed show. I say mostly because we had to include Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters in there. It's kind of the song of the year. That's about the only non-Disney thing in it, but everything else is Disney. So hopefully, a lot of people have bought tickets because the first few weeks the ticket sales were a little slim. It's a little harder to get people to come out for sort of a sing-along night rather than an actual full musical. It also doesn't help that I think we picked Easter weekend in order to do it. There's a lot of people traveling and going out of town and having family things. But hopefully the event will be a success. And on another note, I'm a little nervous about this, but I am going to be meeting my godmother. And when I say meeting, I'm sure I've met her before, once or twice, very briefly. But for those who don't know the family story, my parents had separated before I was born. So I wasn't. There's a whole section of my family I'm not very familiar with. Let's put it that way. And I hadn't seen my godfather or my godmother. Um, I don't remember if I have. I think at one point we may have met again at my dad's funeral, possibly. But I didn't grow up with them at all, and she had to put out a search through Facebook looking for me, and someone from my curling club actually saw it and passed the message to me. So she's because they were traveling to Kingston for Easter weekend anyway, so she's going to come and see the show. And on Saturday evening, we are going to have dinner together. And maybe I'll find out a little bit more about what my mom and dad were like when they were younger. Because again, I don't have that much story or history about them, particularly about that time. So yeah, it'll be nice. A little bit of a extended family reunion. It's amazing. Social media, for all its ills, it does have some good sides, and it allows people to find each other. People who are looking for each other to find each other, and we have. So yeah, I'm very excited about it. Like I said, I don't know her all that well. We did have at one point in the past set up to meet, which is why I can't even remember if we had like met in person very briefly and we had set up that time, or it was just some written communication through intermediaries and we had decided to meet and they couldn't make it for a certain reason. Again, it was so long ago I don't remember what the reason was. Um, But yeah, she said that she felt bad that she couldn't make it all those years ago and was desperately looking. And when she put out the call, she says, "Well, this is the last time that I'm trying." So I guess she had been trying for quite a while. So yeah, pretty excited, pretty excited. A little bit of a blast from the past. When I got the message, it actually, I was originally going to like respond right away. The message came up, and I think I saw it 2 days after it was posted. Somebody sent it to me, and then I was hesitant because I didn't know if that was a door I wanted to open. Because you don't know um, who these people are as people. To whom you have these types of connections. But after a few months of pondering it and talking about it with some friends and whatnot, I decided to take the plunge and answer back. And yeah, so far our online communication has been incredibly pleasant and warm. So I'm hoping that it will be the same when we are in person. I have no reason to suspect it would be different. But yeah, just a little bit of blast from the past, as you say. Um, very, very anxious. Um, I'm not sure if anxious, eager more than anxious, because I'm not nervous about it, but very anxious to have the opportunity to meet her and maybe, like I said, learn more about my parents and what they were like when they were younger. So there you go. Lots of stuff going on in my life, and probably will be without the Beaver sweetie on the weekend because he will be going to visit family for Easter. So that's the other thing is I guess we will both be with family for Easter, which is kind of weird for me because I keep on considering that I don't have any, but I guess I have some long lost family, and there will be some reconnections. So yeah, of course, I will let you know how it goes, kids and cubs. But yeah, I'm my inner 6-year-old seems to be rather happy. So I'm in a good mood. So that's what's going on with me, kids and cubs. Just looking here through the chat here, talking about Justin Timberlake. Yeah, uh, having a few issues, I guess, these days. Uh, I like that. Did he get arrested again? Now, I don't know if we're talking about Justin Timberlake or Tiger Woods. Ooh, did I just say that? Ooh, okay. Let's see. Uh, and apparently there are some baby beaver videos for me to check out at some point along the way. I like them. That's so cute. I love the baby beaver videos. Thank you, Kit Saucy. Oh, by the way, Kit Saucy, were you able to get back control of your Twitter account? Because I did put the word out and give the word out to the kits and cubs that your account had been hijacked and for them to be cautious for the next few days. So just wanted to know if you had gotten control of it back, and if you have, then I'll go back and look for you, and re-add you. But thanks for letting us know that something had happened because, yeah, I noticed that message from you said, "Will you vote for me for something?" And go, Sassy doesn't normally send me stuff like that, so I did not click on it, which was, I guess, a good thing here. All right. And I see Miss here is talking about Mateo, our dear, dear, dear Mateo. Please give him a big hug for us and a big hug also for Rain and Jazzy, please. And all the kitty cats. And oh, heck, throw one in for Mohan too. And make sure you take one for yourself. All right. We got plenty of hugs here at the Beaver Lodge for your family. Okay. Let's get into it. Oh, thank you, Kid Vim. And Kid Saucy, do not click that link, FFS. And Kid Vim is happy here for my family news. See, this is why I keep on asking you too, as well as to share some good news stories with me, because it just makes things lighter when you know that good things are happening to good people, and well, you are good people, and not only because you watch the show. A lot because you watch the show, but not only because you watch the show. All right, let's get into it, kits and cubs. We are here to talk a little bit today about politicians behaving badly, or at least curiously, if not badly. Here, a couple of stories that we've picked up along the way, and we've been able to, have a day where we could present them to you. And then, if we have a little bit of time, looking at some opinion pieces about the accession of Avi Lewis to the leadership of the New Democratic Party of Canada. So, with the politicians behaving badly, started talking uh, about baby beavers. Uh, there was an interesting ruling that you've all brought to my attention in the Saskatchewan Provincial Chamber of Parliament. And it would seem that somebody uh, in the legislature, while the legislature was in session, referred to someone else as eager beaver. And apparently, um, that was deemed to be um, unparliamentary language, which uh, I can't foresee any reason for which eager beaver, which, for those familiar with our operation, it being a term that we use rather frequently and prominently, says the narrator as he points to himself. um, we don't find offensive in any way, shape, or form. We don't find unparliamentary in any way, shape, or form. How could that be? I could only guess that uh, the people who use the term eager beaver did so with a tone that would indicate that that was supposedly not a compliment. Again, I fail to understand. Oh man. So yeah, there's a little bit of a moment with that on video here that I guess there might have been a complaint possibly about this, although it doesn't seem like if I'm watching the video, uh, I see Premier Scott Moe here. He doesn't seem to be particularly shook up about it. So let's just take a look at this moment here, Kits and Cubs, and see what the brouhaha was somewhat about.
I understand that I believe a beaver is actually Canada's national animal. It's on many of our emblems, Mr. Speaker, and a very hard-working animal as well, I say, which is maybe somewhat relative to the effort and the hard work that the members of the government of Saskatchewan take on behalf of their constituents each and every day, Mr. Speaker. That's very much shown in this particular budget, with the initiatives that are coming forward, Mr. Speaker, being delivered on in this budget, lowering taxes for everyone across the province of Saskatchewan, regardless of where you live, Mr. Speaker, regardless of what you do, Mr. Speaker. And we are going to see the differences between the opposition and the government party in this vote, Mr. Speaker. The largest investment, protecting Saskatchewan healthcare, the largest investment in long-term care is happening right here in Regina. It's funded in this budget. We're going to see if the members opposite, including the Leader of the Opposition, vote against that investment, Mr. Speaker. An urgent care centre in the city of Saskatoon, Mr. Speaker, funded in this budget. We're going to ask and see if the members of the opposition support the city of Saskatoon in that construction of that important piece of healthcare infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. We most certainly believe that this is the best budget in Canada. It delivers for the people of Saskatchewan, regardless of where you live, Mr. Speaker. It's a good news budget, Mr. Speaker. It's bad news for the NDP.
All right. So just a brief reference there from Premier Scott Moe to having been referred to as eager beavers there. But again, not seeming to take too much of this, because it is true that the beaver is a rather industrious animal. And of course, our national animal. But yes, it seems that there has been an issue with decorum in the Saskatchewan legislature for quite a while here. And according to the CBC's Alexander Kwan, It says here that efforts by the Speaker of the Saskatchewan Legislature to bring decorum back to the chamber continued on Thursday with Todd Gowdy ruling that the phrase, quote, eager beaver was unparliamentary language. It happened during question period on Thursday before a vote on the 26-27 provincial budget. NDP opposition leader Carla Beck rose in the legislature and attempted to ask a question of Premier Scott Moe while making a remark about Jeremy Harrison, the Minister for the Crown Investments Corporation. Quote, was he informed by the eager beaver over there, the Minister for CIC, of the plan? Beck asked. She was quickly interrupted as Speaker Gowdy rose to issue a statement. Quote, comments like eager beaver, that's certainly not parliamentary comments towards the honourable member, Gowdy said. Beck ultimately did ask her question on the budget, but Moe did not appear to take offence of the comment. The government side of the legislature laughed and clapped as the Premier delivered his response. And that's his response that we saw there. I believe a beaver is actually a Canadian national animal. It's on many of our emblems, Mr. Speaker, and a very hardworking animal as well, I say, calling it an accurate description for the Saskatchewan Party caucus. Since the legislature resumed earlier this month, Gowdy has repeatedly admonished both parties for what he has described as an increase in heckling and bad behavior. Gowdy has previously described the issue as having gotten worse compared to the fall sitting. He has also apologized multiple times to school tours and guests who attend question period for the heckling and interruptions they have to sit through. At various points on Thursday, he directed some NDP MLAs to, quote, keep their comments to themselves as a final warning before he would potentially order them out of the chamber. Aliana Young, who serves as the NDP's whip, was asked about the tension and lack of decorum in the legislature after question period on Thursday. Quote, she said frustration is boiling over in the legislature for what the NDP see as a refusal by the government to answer the opposition's questions. Quote, we're not allowed to stand up and say those guys are lying. I can say it out here outside the chamber, and I will say it to the people of the province. They lie day after day after day, Young said. Are we frustrated with that? You bet. Will we continue to be frustrated? You bet. Will we do everything we can will we do everything we can relentlessly to hold them to account and shame them for those desperately tacky and heartless answers that we saw in here today? Absolutely. Believes the phrase eager beaver was unparliamentary language. She laughed before saying she respects the speaker's rulings. Media requested government House Leader Tim MacLeod to discuss the issue of decorum. He was not made available. Instead, the provincial government issued a statement after question period highlighting its belief that the legislature, quote, should be a place of debate, not hate. Hey, calling someone eager beaver is not hate? God, I hope not. Because then I've got some serious questions about some potential self-loathing issues. That appears to be a reference to a controversial NDP fundraising email sent out earlier this month. Okay, when they say a place of debate and not hate. So since we're talking about politicians behaving badly, let's go take a look at this so-called email. This is Alia Marco Omeni. This was from March 16th, also from CBC. Premier Scott Moe called on NDP leader Carla Beck to fire newly appointed campaign manager Jeremy Nollet after he sent what Moe called a, quote, dangerous fundraising email to NDP members over the weekend. In documents obtained by CBC News, Nollet encouraged members to think of the faces of the Premier and ministers who, quote, you hate so much. Scott Moe, Tim MacLeod, Jeremy Harrison, and Jeremy Cockrell. And I know three of those names, not as familiar with Tim MacLeod and, Scott Moe. We have issues with him. Jeremy Harrison, there have definitely been issues with him and Jeremy Cockrell as well. A few scan along the way. If I remember, Harrison, he had to resign as House Leader at one point because he had brought a firearm into the Saskatchewan legislative building. Yes, I remember that. That was in May of 2024. He also had an issue because he had fired a whistleblower. According, it was in October 2024. It would seem that there was a whistleblower at the Saskatchewan Research Council who was fired, as claimed by the NDP, allegedly to help out a board member of the Saskatchewan Research Council who was connected to a company that is a Sask Party donor. Interesting. Uh, and then with Jeremy Cockrell, uh, North Battleford, I believe is the riding he represents, is under multiple conflict of interest investigations. Wow. Okay. And there's another person, Gene Mikowski, who represents Regina University, allegedly received $750,000 of taxpayer money at a motel he owns. Okay. Lots of stuff going on in Saskatchewan here. But yes, like I said, those other I was familiar with, they seem to have a track record that of doing things that have made it all the way to Ottawa. Let's put it that way. Premier Scott Moe addressed the NDP's email at Monday's legislative session, calling it a promotion of hatred. Quote, "This is sick, and in today's political climate, promoting this kind of hatred is not only careless," he said, "it's dangerous." Okay. Um, the MPs you love to hate is not necessarily promoting hatred or violence. However, it is not classy by any way, shape, or form. And it does appeal to the worst of our instincts. I've never understood the marketing yourself as the person other people love to hate. That type of thing. But for some people, it works. I guess it's a brand. The premier argued that Nalé was only appointed to the position late last week, and his first order of business was to elevate hate against fathers, husbands, and individuals serving the province. Quote, "The leader of the opposition, I would say, today has a choice to make," Moe said. "She can endorse this hate, or she can say that it is wrong, it is sick, and it is unacceptable, and fire that individual for promoting hate in this province of Saskatchewan." Beck pushed back at Moe's remark. She said the premier is desperate, saying one thing and does another. Quote, "How very precious of the premier to clutch his pearls and talk about hate when he knows what he did in the last election," she said. One of the main disputes to come out of the last election was Moe's proposed policy that would restrict students' use of change rooms in the province's schools to their sex assigned at birth, and the singling out of NDP MLA Jared Clark's trans children. Quote, "If he wants to debate that, I'll be happy to stand beside him and debate it in that rotunda today bed." After Monday's session, Moe said the fundraising email was entirely uncalled for and should be disturbing to Saskatchewan people. Beck justified the use of the word hate in the weekend email. "Hate is not a word that I typically use," she said. "The frustration is visceral when Moe says this is the most affordable place to live, and yet people have to buy groceries on their credit cards," Beck said, adding she would not walk back the word because of that. Um, okay, that sounds rather weak, to be totally honest. Um, and a rather flimsy excuse. I'm not going to walk back the word hate because he created a province where people have to buy groceries on their credit cards. Yeah, no, not the strongest reply here at all. And then if we're talking about that, about MLA Jared Clark, this was from late November 2024. Where it says Saskatchewan NDP MLA Jared Clark tore into Premier Scott Moe during a speech in the legislature on Tuesday, criticizing Moe's actions during the recent provincial election campaign and demanding an apology for a proposed policy Clark believes was targeted at his children. "The Saskatchewan Party's legacy is attacking vulnerable kids. Prove me wrong," Clark said. Clark's speech during question period Tuesday lasted roughly 13 minutes, so it spent taking Moe to task for policy the Saskatchewan Party leader touted during the campaign as his, quote, first order of business if re-elected. Moe said his government would establish a policy restricting students' use of change rooms in schools to their sex assigned at birth. Throughout the announcement, Moe frequently used the term biological boys, which can be used to imply that transgender people are still their assigned sex at birth, despite their identity. The policy was not part of the party's election platform, which had been released just days before Moe's announcement. It was immediately flagged by experts and families who said it would put transgender children at risk. Before Moe announced the policy, news outlets like the Western Standard published a story featuring a parent saying their daughter had been uncomfortable in a change room with two other students who identified as female but were assigned male as birth at a South Saskatchewan school. In his comments Tuesday, Clark confirmed that the two children referenced in the Western Standard story were his. "The premier put a target on the back of my two 12-year-old kids," Clark said. In response to a request for comment on Clark's speech, a government spokesperson provided a statement. Quote, the Minister of Education and then the Premier commented on this matter in response to questions from the media, it said. At no point did they identify any students. The Premier in his campaign consistently stated that the identity of the individual minor should never be part of any political debate. Clark said his children's photos were circulated on social media and his family targeted by hateful comments. The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation say teachers received degrading messages in response to the news in the following days. Clark described the proposed policy as part of the Premier's, quote, legacy and demanded an apology from Moe. Quote, transgender kids are not scary. Transgender people are not scary. They are not people we should be afraid of. They are people who deserve to be treated with respect and dignity and love, he said. Moe backed off the policy after securing another majority government, saying it would be part of his discussions held between elected school board and Minister of Education Everett Hindley. So yeah, lots of bad blood in that party, and in that been going for quite an amount of time here. Looking at, let's see, what do we have here? 620 CKRM FM, talking about the declining level of decorum as well, trying to see if there's anything new here that we haven't been talking about before. Says here that Opposition House Leader Nicole Sauer rose on a point of order over Premier Scott Smoe's remark, quoting and referring to a fundraising email put forward by the party on this side of the chamber. And then, so that was in reference to that email that got sent by the campaign director, Jeremy Nollet, talking about, contributing to defeat the faces that you hate so much, specifically. Sauer demanded that Moe apologize and withdraw. Government House Leader McLeod, however, said that by referencing those emails, Moe was referencing behavior that's consistent with what we're seeing from the opposition and how they conduct themselves day to day, Mr. Speaker. That is entirely relevant. In response, Gowdy suggested meeting with both House leaders on Tuesday before making a ruling, quote, because I agreed that some of the things that are being said from both sides may be stretching the rules. Gowdy ended up delaying his ruling on the matter to Wednesday. In his lengthy remarks, Gowdy, who's the speaker, found the Premier's answer, quote, was relevant to the question, even though they included additional comments which may not be considered relevant. But Gowdy called for MLAs to raise the bar on their conduct, quote, I'm going to hold to the rules. I'm going to be more firm moving forward, just holding the rules. I'll do my absolute best, but I'm challenging us to raise our bars because the province is watching, the people are watching, and we need to be the example of what they expect in this place. What people ended up seeing this week was little obvious improvement. Opposition MLA spent the week heckling and talking over government ministers as they gave their responses. During questions on school funding on Tuesday, an exasperated-looking Gowdy had to stand up and call for order in front of a gallery filled with school students. Quote, sorry, I'm just going to remind us, we're talking about schools, we've got students in the balconies, and the minister's giving a response. Please, let's hear clearly the response of the minister. Later, when the NDP's Jordan McPhail stood to roast the government over, quote, more money for consultants, for sweetheart deals, and for schools in the Premier's own riding, but only cuts when it comes to the highways and the airports of the people over the north, Gowdy interjected again. The sweetheart's deal, that's offside. During questions on power rates on Wednesday, Gowdy again had to stand up and interject to heckling from the opposition. I'm going to mention the members on the far end of the room, Meewasin and South Albert, please come to order. Thursday morning sitting during question period, particularly unruly. Opposition leader Carla Beck grilled Premier Moe over the issue of extending the life of coal-fired generation, accusing the government of making life more expensive in the province. Quote, so Mr. Speaker, my question is simply this, and it's to the Premier. Was he informed by the eager beaver over there, the Minister for CIC, of the plan? And that's how this one came along, of course. Gowdy immediately interjected, comments like eager beaver, that's certainly not parliamentary comments towards an honourable member. Premier Moe had his own retort ready to the eager beaver remark, which is the one that we saw in the clip. As Moe and other government members continued to receive a grilling from the opposition, Gowdy was forced to interject a number of times to urge members to be quiet during answers. At one point, Gowdy paused proceedings entirely and singled out the MLA for Regina Elphinstone Centre, Miera Conway, calling on her to keep her comments to herself. I'll do my best, Mr. Speaker, Conway said. A lot of people talking in here today. I don't know why you're addressing me specifically. Well, from my seat, I can hear all the voices in the place, and there are a few that are outspoken, and I know there's different character qualities and strengths and weaknesses in all of us, but there are a few that seem to be more outspoken than others, and you are one of those. So I asked for you to keep your comments to yourself, Gowdy said. If there's any problems with me pausing the things, I'm sorry, but it is important that we have decorum in the chamber. This is a special day. We're going to hear from the leader of the opposition and the premier, their comments, the finance minister. I'm going to ask a last time. If not, I'm going to have to remove you, which I do not want to do. In the end, Gowdy did not remove Conway or any other MLAs this week. Following question period Thursday, the NDP opposition fielded questions from reporters about decorum concerns. The NDP's Aliana Young seemed unrepentant about what was going on in the assembly. Quote, look, what I see every day in the House, and I know the people of Saskatchewan, is a government that stands up and lies through their teeth in this assembly again and again and again. And then again, that's the quote that I, read from before, saying that that they are frustrated and that they will continue to hold them account for their tacky and heartless answers. As for Premier Moe, he had strong words for the NDP during budget debate Thursday. During that speech, Moe hammered the NDP for not removing Nollet as campaign director and for the general negative tone of the party. Quote, this was not who the NDP were under Premier Calvert. This is not who the NDP were under the leadership of Cram Broten. But unfortunately, and I say truly from the bottom of my heart, unfortunately, this is what we see today. I don't think it's working for the NDP party. I don't think people want to hear about how terrible our province is day in and day out. And I think, unlike the NDP, there certainly is something to be proud of living in Saskatchewan. I feel that Saskatchewan people, as Saskatchewan people do, that people should go into healthcare, unlike the member opposite, Mr. Speaker. I think that we should not hate the people that we disagree with. I think we should respect those differences, Mr. Speaker. This is the premier that did invoke the notwithstanding clause against trans children because he decided that he should fear what it is he doesn't understand. But at the same time saying that we should not hate people we disagree with. Okay. This, Mr. Speaker, is not working for the members opposite, and I don't think it's working for the people of Saskatchewan as well as they look at what is happening, Mr. Speaker, in the NDP party of today. Wow. So, if you are a resident of Saskatchewan and you are watching a question period at any point in time, you would not be impressed with what's going on. And that last bit of news that came from radio station 620 CKRM was also published today.ca and was from reporter John Cairns. So I figured I'd give a little credit there where I could. So that's what's going on in Saskatchewan. Other issues of politicians behaving badly comes from British Columbia. According to Katie Rosa, there is a member of the British Columbia Conservative Party. That party seems to be a mess. And again, to be another one that attracted all the best people. We had a couple people that left the party before. I think I had Tara Armstrong and Dallas Brody, who are vehemently anti-trans and vehemently anti-Indigenous in particular. And then, of course, the party got rid of the leader, John Rustad. They gave him the boot. There's currently a leadership race going on with a couple of candidates, some of them that are trying to adopt Pierre Poilievre's shtick. And then we have this, which way more disturbing than an eager beaver comment, let's put it that way, by Kitty DeRosa from CBC News. And I'm going to post a picture of this guy. He is a member of the provincial legislature that goes by the name of Han Chan. So you can get a look at this gentleman. And the news about him is, to say the least, disturbing. According to the article, Han Chan, BC MLA for Richmond Centre, has been charged with assault by choking, and uttering threats. Yeah, only the best people, right? Conservative parties? Chan was charged Wednesday and has been released from custody. He is set to make his first court appearance on April 22nd in Richmond Provincial Court, according to the BC Prosecution Service. The case has been designated a K file, which indicates it is an alleged case of intimate partner violence or domestic violence. The victim's identity is unknown. The BC Prosecution Service says a special prosecutor, Andy McKay, was appointed on June 27, 2025, in relation to an investigation conducted by the Richmond RCMP. The alleged offenses occurred on January 12, 2024, in Richmond. Chan has been removed from the BC Conservative Party caucus, party leader Trevor Halford said. During a news conference at the legislature Thursday, Halford said Chan called him the day before to inform him of the charges. These charges are incredibly serious, they're very troubling, they're very disturbing, Halford said. He said the party took action to remove Chan immediately upon becoming aware of the charges and that he's very confident nobody involved in the party or caucus knew about the investigation before Wednesday. Quote, our caucus wishes to be clear, any allegations of domestic violence are taken seriously, Halford said, adding that people in positions of public trust will be held to the highest standard of accountability. CBC News has not been able to reach Chan directly for comment. I wonder why. Someone from his constituency office sent a statement saying, quote, MLA Chan was made aware of a claim relating to an allegation from approximately 2.5 years ago. He disagrees with the allegation and looks forward to defending himself through the legal process. He will continue to cooperate fully with the police and the court process. They said because the matter is before the courts, no further comment will be made. The statement was signed MLA Han Chan office. The BC Prosecution Service said it decided to appoint a special prosecutor for the case to avoid any real or perceived conflict of interest, given that Chan is an elected public official. Chan became a BC Conservative candidate in August 2024. He was elected as an MLA in October of that year with over half the votes, beating NDP incumbent Henry Yao. Chan was the party's critic for climate solutions and climate readiness. He's a former journalist with Fairchild Television. Grace Lore, NDP MLA for Victoria Beacon Hill, said in a statement that removing Chan from caucus doesn't go far enough. She said the Conservatives should call on Chan to resign immediately, saying his failures to disclose the criminal investigation, quote, is a fundamental violation of trust with his constituents and all British Columbians. Quote, it is inappropriate for someone facing criminal charges for violent crimes to continue serving as an LA, she said. Asked if he thinks Chan should resign, Halford said he's going to have that make that decision himself. Gee, yes, way to take a see that's something that I would have no trouble saying if I were party leader. You think he should resign? Oh, that's a decision he needs to make for himself. I'm gonna be hell yeah, he should. I don't, I don't see why what he had to lose by saying yes. But apparently, yeah, he did feel that he couldn't say yes to that. Interesting. Um, According to Sue Today, Wolfgang Deppner of the Canadian Press has appeared in the Sue Today. Trying to see here if there's a little bit more. It says independent British Columbia legislator Han Chan said he is not resigning after his assault charges came to light and he was kicked out of the Conservative caucus. Chan says on Monday while briefly talking with reporters outside the floor of the legislature that everyone is actually innocent until proven guilty when asked whether he would resign. Independent MLA Eleanor Sturko, who sits one seat removed from Chan in the same row, has said he should resign in pointing to the charges which were in relation to an alleged incident of intimate partner violence in 2024. Sturko says Chan is innocent until proven guilty, but she is not sure he can maintain the public trust given the, quote, serious allegations hanging over his head. The alleged offenses against Chan date back to January 12, 2024, but Chan says he was not contacted by police prior to the election in October when he was elected as a Conservative. The legislative member for Richmond Centre, who was removed from the Conservative caucus last week, says he neither lied to his constituents nor his party, adding that he was not informed about the appointment of a special prosecutor in June 2025. BC Green member Jeremy Valeriot says he agrees with Sturko's acknowledgement that Chan is innocent until proven guilty, but also points to the uncertainty that comes from being a legislator while facing criminal charges. Valeriot says the charges against Chan represent a distraction from his day-to-day job, but adds the public should have known about the appointment of the special prosecutor. So that's what we have on that. Kits and Cubs from the Canadian Press. Let's see what else do we have here. 4 days ago, from The BC Prosecution Service, this is according here to Rob Shaw with CHEK News out in British Columbia. And the statement from the service says, the BC Prosecution Service, BCPS, announced today that on June 27, 2025, Andy McKay, KC, that's King's Counsel, was appointed as a special prosecutor involving investigation being conducted by the Richmond RCMP into allegations against Han Sang-chan. Mr. Chan is a member of the Legislative Assembly for Richmond Centre. The alleged offences occurred on January 12, 2024 in Richmond. The appointment of a special prosecutor is intended to avoid any potential for real or perceived improper influence in the administration of justice, considering the nature of the allegation and the identity of the accused as an elected public official. Ms. McKay is a senior Vancouver lawyer in private practice. Her mandate includes providing legal advice to investigators as may be necessary, conducting any related charge assessment, and assuming conduct of the prosecution if any charge was approved. The BCPS policy on special prosecutions and related information sheet can be found at, and they provide links in the letter for that for people to find it. The charge assessment guidelines to be applied by the special prosecutor, which are the same as those applied by regular Crown Counsel, are established in BCPS policy and are available at, and includes a link there as well. On March 25th, 2026, on Richmond Provincial Court, file number 69728, 1K, Mr. Chan was charged with assault by choking and uttering threats. The first appearance is on April 22nd, 2026 in Richmond Provincial Court. Following consultation with the special prosecutor, the BCPS concluded that issuing a media statement was appropriate at this time, as these matters are now before the court. Neither the special prosecutor nor the BCPS will be releasing additional information or commenting further at this time. Okay. Interesting. This here, very, very serious. And then according to Rob Shaw, the same journalist here, has a very interesting piece here that says, CC over Han Chan's case reveals double standard for MLA investigations. It says here, there are many important questions to be asked about the criminal charges facing Richmond Centre MLA Han Chan, but a key one, no matter the outcome. Why wasn't the public told for almost a year that a sitting MLA was under active police investigation? Chan was Wednesday with assault by choking, and uttering threats in what is believed to be a domestic violence or intimate partner violence case. The allegations date back to June 12, 2024. Private lawyer Andy McKay was appointed as a special prosecutor to oversee the RCMP investigation on June 27, 2025. That means Chan went about his daily duties as an MLA for 9 months, debating and introducing legislation while under a full-fledged police probe by Richmond RCMP. He spoke on matters involving the police and justice system on the floor of the legislature during this time. His constituents had no idea. Historically, that's not how this works. When special prosecutors are appointed to investigate politicians, the public is usually told early on. It's a measure designed to bolster trust in the 30-year-old system that appoints private lawyers to safeguard cases involving politicians and political officials. The purpose is to avoid any perception that the Attorney General or government of the day is trying to influence the outcome of an independent police investigation and charge assessment. But that didn't happen in the case of Chan. Quote, the special prosecutor must approve the timing and content of any announcement about their appointment, said Damien Darby, the communications counsel of the prosecution service, when asked about the delay. It is very common that an announcement will be delayed so as to not to adversely affect an ongoing investigation. Nobody wants an investigation compromised due to premature public disclosure, but the justification that it is, quote, very common to wait until charges are laid before making anything public is not accurate. Special prosecutors have applied different standards to different MLAs for years, and careers have been ruined for it. In 2019, NDP Cabinet Minister Ginny Sims was forced to resign her portfolio and sit under a cloud for 6 months after a special prosecutor was publicly announced. She was never charged, but her career was ruined. BC Liberal Solicitor General Cash Heed had to resign from cabinet not once but twice in 2010 after special prosecutors were announced into campaign expense irregularities. Times, but never made it back cabinet. Liberal MLA John Less had to resign as Solicitor General in 2008 and wait 3 years before he was cleared, during which time his reputation was tarnished beyond repair. Special prosecutors were also disclosed in the cases of Peace River MLA Pat Pym in 2011 and Cowichan MLA Doug Routley in 2009, both accused of domestic violence. Neither was ultimately charged. In each case, the public was told early, but in Chan's case, they weren't told at all. Is it better for police and special prosecutors to say nothing until or if criminal charges are laid? And if they aren't, Should the fact an MLA or cabinet minister was under active police investigation while doing their job be kept secret forever? Be kept secret forever. Those are points worthy of debate, perhaps by an all-party committee of the legislature. There's a legitimate argument for secrecy in some fragile police investigations, but there's also a cost to silence, especially when the person under investigation is voting on laws and representing the public. Whatever side you land on, there needs to be one standard applied to everyone. It needs to be written into a policy the public can see and understand, and it needs to be communicated by prosecutors publicly every time so people know the rules are being applied fairly. Otherwise, a special prosecutor system designed to protect public confidence starts to look like it's more interested in protecting itself. There you go. And Rob Shaw, if you're looking for a little more information on him, as somebody who has spent more than 18 years covering BC politics, reporting for CHEK News and writing for the BIV, and hosts the weekly show called Political Capital. If you are looking to find out more about this particular journalist or follow their work because you appreciated it. So yeah, in things going on all around. Definitely some politicians being badly here in this case. Let's see, what else do we have for you here in this section? So we did the Eager Beaver, the Saskatchewan MLA, and the BC MLA. The other next one that we have is at the federal level. A little bit of perhaps be careful what you buy, or buyer beware, because this one involves a recent floor crosser. The Liberals, and there's actually two stories. Actually, the first one is Barry Idlout. I finally heard somebody say Idlout, and I think that that's the proper pronunciation of her last name, because I was saying Idlet, but it's Idlout, I believe. This from sometime around March 10th, according to Kate McKenna. Sometimes you have to do the vetting of the people that want to cross the frontier party, because sometimes they come with baggage. And this story indicates that Lori Idlet might have a little baggage of her own here. Nunavut MP Lori Idlet says she has reimbursed the House of Commons for items bought from her own shop, quote, in error. Idlet is the sole proprietor of the gallery Carvings Nunavut, which sells Inuit-made carvings and artwork. Publicly available expenditure report shows that on 4 occasions in 2025, Idlet expensed items to the House of Commons purchased from the business she owns. Members of Parliament are not allowed to benefit from expenses or contracts charged to the House of Commons. The total value of the purchases was $1,756. 2 $150 purchases were made in January 2025. A $76 purchase was made on June 25th, and a $1,380 purchase was made on August 27th. All were listed as gifts given as a matter of protocol. In a statement sent to CBC News following questions about these expenditures, Idlout wrote they were for Indigenous artwork used in her capacity as an MP. Quote, "They were submitted in error, and I have subsequently reimbursed the House of Commons for the total value," she wrote. Idlout crossed the floor from the NDP and joined the Liberal caucus last week, marking the 4th defection to the Carney Liberals in recent months. She has been in office since 2021, and she said she made the decision to join the governing party in part because she wanted government to, quote, "make decisions with Nunavut, not only about Nunavut." Our floor crossing leaves the Liberals on the cusp of holding a razor-thin majority in the House of Commons. If they win 2 out of the 3 upcoming by-elections, they will cross the threshold into majority territory, and 2 of the 3 ridings are considered safe Liberal seats. The expenses were made during her time as an NDP MP. Ms. Idlout has, now that she's been caught, admitted to doing what every member of Parliament knows or ought to know they can't do, said Michael Barrett, the Conservative ethics critic. This speaks to very poor judgment. Again, I will point to the fact that the Conservative Party is in a very, very, very precarious place, or actually not on the strongest footing, to make these types of claims, even though they are right on this, because this is the party that has a former leader, Mr. Andrew Scheer, who had been caught maybe doing things that were not entirely ethical with the party's fund. including purchase of a minivan, and I believe also expensing private school education, among a couple of other things. There had been a report done into that. I think there was about between $700,000 and $900,000 that were in question at that point, and a report was made, and we were told that the report into that would be made public, and then at some point. The Conservatives decided not to make that report public. And now, several years later, we have Andrew Scheer still working for the Conservative Party of Canada as an MP. Most people, when they lose an election, they resign, but not Andy and not Pierre. They decided to stay on. And Andy then was the safest person to choose to be the leader of the opposition when Pierre had temporarily lost his seat for a few months because he had already been a failed leader and there was no way he was going to be brought back. So he was the safest choice. And ever since the agreement that the report would not be made public, Andrew Scheer has been the conservative that the parties have been sending out in front of the mics to say the most humiliating and embarrassing things, which again all supports our hypothesis that Andrew Scheer is the political equivalent of the man that went to a luxury restaurant for a dinner without bringing their wallet because they couldn't pay for it and is now forced to do dishes. Andrew Scheer has been in the conservative backroom doing dishes for several years to work off that bill. We're also talking about a party that did plead guilty in court to election finance misdeeds, and a party that is currently led by a man who has a lifetime compliance agreement with Elections Canada. So this is a party that is very, very ill-placed to be talking about corruption in other parties without the awkward question of what's in your wallet being asked of it. But they try, and they love to speak of the judgment of others when this is a party that has corruption literally in its DNA. But that aside, the fact that the Conservatives are corrupt does not mean in any way that what Laurie Idlett did do is okay and acceptable. It's not. It's just that the Conservatives are the weirdest people in the entirety of Parliament to be bringing it up and making a case about it. Barrett has written to the chair of the Board of Internal Economy, which is responsible for establishing bylaws and policies relating to MPs' expenditures, to raise concerns about these expenses. He said there are other questions Idlett should have to answer. Quote, who did she give these gifts to right at the time of a federal election where she won her district by a couple of dozen votes, he said. In a statement, a spokesperson for the Ethics Commissioner confirmed that MPs are not allowed to further their private interests in any way while performing their public duties. They did not say whether the Commissioner would launch an inquiry into the issue, saying the office can do so at the behest of another MP when directed by the House or based on information from various sources, including media reports. In 2021, former Ethics Commissioner Mario Dion found that former Liberal MP Yasmin Ratansi violated Parliament's Conflict of Interest Code by hiring her sister to work in her constituency office. I have no idea why that last sentence is included in this article. It does not provide any contextual information based on this particular case. Okay, so yes, Idlett had that going on and seems to have rectified it. But yes, something that should not have been done ever, done in her days as an NDP MP. She did repay the money. Okay, doesn't make it go away, but at least repaid the money. There are other things with regard to MP Idlett that people may have seen online regarding one of her children and some behavior that he is alleged to have engaged in that is extremely unsavory. We do not indulge in talking about such matters on our show because we believe that just as the sins of the father and the mother should not be transferred onto the child, the sins of the child, if sins there may be, are not necessarily the responsibility of the father and the mother. But there are some people that have been piling on and wanting to make whatever faults that he may have hers as well somehow. And I'm personally not okay with that. So this is the most reference that I will make to the fact that that is something going on in the background. If you want to find out more about it, you can do so yourself. But we will not be promoting that narrative on our show. So that's Lori Idlet, but the one that caught a lot of people's attention, the Lori Idlet one made the press, but was a little bit under the radar. But the one that caught the attention of a lot of people had to do with a recent floor crosser, Michael Ma, who in committee was questioning an expert and the question of forced labor in China came up. And he had some questioning that was a little odd. Seemed to be indicating that, how would you say? Seemed to be indicating that he was somewhat doubtful about the expert's uh, knowledge. Some would say that he was running some type of interference for China with that. As you will know, kits and cubs, when Michael Ma, whereas you might need to be reminded, Michael Ma, when he crossed the floor, as you know, with conservatives, every time crosses the floor, there's an instant all-out assault on their character. And they're called a whole bunch of names, liars, traitors, all that kind of stuff. But with Michael Ma, there was specifically claims that he was an agent of the government of China, the Communist Party, which is a really interesting allegation to make at the time, because if he was an agent of the government of China. Now, of course, the conservatives seem to be arguing that Michael Ma went to the Conservative Party Christmas party, and then the very next day he was at the Liberal Christmas party, right? So he was at the Conservative Party the day before he decided to cross the floor, and then went to the Liberal Party the next day. Well, according to the conservatives, they want us to believe that sometime between the time he went to the Conservative Party's Christmas party and the Liberal one, he signed up to be an agent of China. Because that's the only way that their story makes sense. Because otherwise, you would have to consider that if he was an agent of China, he was an agent of China all the way along, and he was an agent of China when the conservatives recruited him, allegedly vetted him, and either their spectacular vetting caught it, and the Conservative Party was quite fine with him being an agent of China because it would be able to serve them at some point, or they didn't do much vetting whatsoever, and they completely missed that, and presented him to Canadians as someone who would be a viable choice for an MP. We also have to learn that this is Michael Ma's. We also have to remember that this is Michael Ma's first term in Parliament, and that any behavior that he exhibits in committee, quite possibly, might be behavior that he was taught by conservatives as to how to behave in committee. So the conservatives now want you to believe that the liberals somehow failed in their vetting of Michael Ma before they brought him, and that this behavior in committee is somehow something that is sanctioned by liberals. There's probably a very good chance that the liberals just turned around and said, well, if he was vetted to run for the conservatives, he was vetted, so he should be okay for us. And then probably saw him behave in committee and probably called him and tapped him on the shoulder, said, yeah, you're probably going to have a couple of things to unlearn if you want to keep on being with us. But the conservatives here are a very interesting situation, trying to make the world believe that all of this is the conservatives, the liberals' fault, or somehow a failing of the liberals, when they were the ones who vetted him first, and they were the ones that trained him how to behave in committee. So I'm going to present this to you. This is Michael Ma in committee with this particular expert witness behaving in a way that has made a certain number of people somewhat uncomfortable, or at least have questions.
Due to the time limit, I'm going to be asking for very sharp, precise answers for the following questions for Ms. Krieger Johnston. Do you have an advanced degree in technology and cybersecurity? Yes or no?
No, but I have spent
sorry, like
37 years
I need to get short answers,
business.
please.
Okay.
The other one is you belong to the China Strategic Risk Institute. So does this institute specifically look for risk when there isn't one? Yes or no?
No,
So why is it a risk institute?
because it analyzes risks that are obviously there.
Thank you. So the last question then is, you claim about forced labor in Shenzhen. Have you witnessed this yourself? Have you been there ever?
I've been to China many times.
Have you witnessed
since
forced labor in
1979?
Have you witnessed forced, just a short answer. Have you witnessed forced labor in Shenzhen? Yes or no? So did you get that
I
from
work closely with
hearsay?
Human Rights Watch, where researchers
Okay.
did witness it.
So thank you.
All right. So that was the exchange. As you can see in the exchange, Michael Ma claiming that he has very little time, so he wants to ask some quick fire questions to get some quick answers, but repeatedly intervening and interrupting the person who is answering, seemingly by the questions, some people could infer that he is questioning whether or not there is forced labor in China. I think it's been pretty much well established by a whole bunch of independent groups, as the witness there was stating, that this is indeed something that does happen over there. The question of, did you witness any forced labor yourself? I don't know that if someone was traveling from Canada to China as head of an organization like this, whether or not come and see some forced labor would actually be on the tour. Forced labor that we acknowledge as being forced labor. And given that the government of China is a Communist Party government and rather controlling, not sure that that would be something that they would allow to happen. So that question is kind of loaded in a way. So yeah, it creates the impression here that Mr. Ma is indeed dismissing that. It's led to a bunch of questions, of course, being asked. A lot of people in the Conservative Party again are how do you put it? Trying to make hay of this. Another thing that we have to remember that puts the Conservatives on some pretty bad footing with this is because, again, and on anything China, particularly with trade, is the Conservative Party signed us on to a 31-year deal with China, right? Something called the FIPA, or FIPPA, depending on how you spell it, the Canada-China Foreign Investment Promotion and Protection Agreement, which has been enforced since October 2014. It's a 31-year treaty designed to protect investors from both countries, provides legal protections like fair treatment, compensation for expropriation, and investor-state arbitration for disputes. The deal is criticized as non-reciprocal and heavily favoring China. It was the agreement was locked in for a minimum of 15 years with a total duration of 31 years. So 2029 is the beginning of the first time that we might be able to get out from some of the things under them. It was not debated in Parliament before being approved by the Harper government. It was negotiated in secret. It was actually signed I think it was in Vladivostok, Russia. Um, so yeah, again, you have the conservatives whenever they complain about, oh my God, I can't believe we're making a deal with China. We're running into the arms of China. As Stephen Harper, after making a big deal of not wanting to do anything with China, having boycotted the country for a few years and not even going to the opening ceremonies of the 2000 Summer Olympics, did end up going to China, tail between his legs, getting seriously admonished by the chairman in public, as in, yeah, it took you a long time to get here, eh? Took you long enough to get here. And then next thing you know, a couple of years later, we got a 31-year treaty in terms of which we're not allowed to know anything. So again, conservatives in a very, very, very odd place to be questioning anybody else making a deal with China. So yeah, not the greatest move here by Michael Ma, of course. Um, an apology, I guess, for that. But yeah, it hasn't been the best thing. Let's see here what I have in this article. According to Janice McGregor of CBC News, this is about 3 days ago, Liberal MP's Michael Ma's apology for confronting an academic witness about whether her evidence on forced labor in Chinese aluminium supply chains could be hearsay coincides with a highly sensitive moment in Canada's ongoing trade war with the Trump administration. After some of the tariffs Canada faced were struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court earlier this year, United States Trade Representative Jamieson Greer embarked on a series of investigations to implement a Plan B using Section 301 of its Trade Act to levy new tariffs based on a country's unfair trade practices. Canada has been included in a probe of countries suspected of allowing commodities or finished goods made with forced labor to enter its supply chain to compete with and potentially displace goods from the U.S. jurisdictions where higher labor costs are priced into the finished product. Quote, despite the international consensus against forced labor, governments have failed to impose an effectively enforced measure banning goods produced with forced labor from entering their markets, Greer's announcement said. The risks of this U.S. investigation, which could result in tariffs of up to 25% on Canadian exports, were among the concerns Margaret McQuaig Johnston was laying out for MPs on the Industry Committee on Thursday when Ma decided to challenge her credibility. As a result of a deal during Prime Minister Mark Carney's trip to Beijing in January, a trip that Ma joined, up to 49,000 electric vehicles annually could now be imported from China at a tariff rate of 6.1%. Chinese state-owned brands like BYD, however, aren't as transparent about their supply chains as other global automakers. Quote, Human Rights Watch has done a very detailed report on Chinese EVs and the aluminium in them that's made with forced labor. Dozens of parts in each car, McQuaig Johnston told CBC News. With the Americans' investigation now underway, quote, they're going to assess us on how strong our forced labor implementation is, she said. This is not the time to be dropping the ball. The Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement also requires Canada to work with American officials to ensure goods manufactured using forced labor are prohibited in the North American market. Any perceived failures on this front could become issues in this year's mandatory review of the deal. Cross-border tensions over Canada's track record on keeping suspect goods out aren't new. In 2021, CBC's place proved evidence of forced labor in the supply chains for clothing originating in North Korea and tomato products from Xinjiang, the region in northwestern China where Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities have been subjected to mass detention, surveillance, and torture by the Chinese government. American officials said that at the time, the Canada Border Services Agency wasn't cutting it. Earlier that year, Canada's parliament unanimously voted to condemn this treatment of Uyghurs by Chinese Communist Party officials as a genocide, although Justin Trudeau's cabinet abstained from the vote. Ma's aggressive questioning of McQuaig Johnston was called out by Conservative MPs both on Parliament Hill and on social media. A procedural fight ensued at committee over whether he should apologize to the witness, which he initially refused to do. Quote, my job as a parliamentarian is to protect Canada, not to protect foreign hostile countries, said Windsor, Ontario Conservative MP Kathy Borelli, as she pursued a line of questioning to draw out more testimony from McQuaig Johnston about the ramifications of the Liberal government's choice to part company with U.S. trade policy and drop its 100% tariff on Chinese EVs. By Thursday evening, Ma posted an apology on social media that said his aggressive line of questioning referred to Shenzhen, a global hub for Chinese EV manufacturing, but not Xinjiang, where the aluminum at issue Let me try that again. By Thursday evening, Ma posted an apology on social media that said his aggressive line of questioning referred to Shenzhen, a global hub for Chinese EV manufacturing, but not Xinjiang, where the aluminium at issue in the Human Rights Watch report originates. Quote, I condemn forced labor in all its forms. Canada has amongst the most rigorous forced labor laws, import laws in the world, and I am proud to support the government's work to eradicate forced labor from supply chains and enforce Canada's import prohibition. His apology to both the witness and other committee members concluded. The government distanced itself from Ma's comments on Friday afternoon. Quote, Canada unequivocally condemns forced labor in all its forms everywhere. Huzef Kazar, a spokesperson for International Trade Minister Menindu Sidhu, said in a statement. Mr. Ma's comments, as reported, are not reflective of the Government of Canada's position on the incredibly serious issue of forced labor. Earlier Friday, asked about Ma's comments at an unrelated announcement, Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson pointed out that the day Canada reached an agreement lifting restrictions on Chinese EVs, Beijing put in an order for $4 billion worth of Canadian canola, as well as other wins he listed off for reporters. Quote, that's good for Canada. That's what we're focused on, Hodgson said. We don't need to have public discussions about where we disagree. We make that clear to our friends in China. This comment from Mr. Hodgson drew, of course, a lot of criticism as well, saying that, if you're not willing to say it out in public, then what's the point? Of course, with the government of China, one of their things, Mr. Trump, south of us seems to have the same thing, is that don't chastise us in public. If you've got an issue with what we do, what we're doing, come see us personally behind the scenes and let's work it out behind closed doors first. So you have Mr. Hodgson here saying we don't need to have public discussions about what about where we disagree. That sort of is in line with that. Did not go over very well. And then when you're talking about forced labor, going, yeah, there's this forced labor thing, maybe not, like to say, but we got all this money for canola. Not a particularly good segue either. This is not the first time that Mr. Hodgson has been a little bit flippant. One of them previously was with regard to consultation with Indigenous communities, saying, well, that's what Zoom is for. Not noting the particularly special relationship between Indigenous communities and the Crown, and that several Indigenous communities, particularly the remote ones, don't have the best broadband service, which is why we are putting all that money into spaceports and low Earth orbit satellites, and that deal with Telesat to try to make sure that everybody does have that broadband that would allow that to take place if somebody deemed that it was culturally appropriate to have the meeting by Zoom on such important matters. But not exactly a possibility. So not the first time that Mr. Hodgson has made a somewhat of a flippant comment that if you stop and think about it, it's like, why the hell did you even mention that? In a letter to Prime Minister, Conservative Foreign Affairs critic Michael Chong wrote that Carney's position on the forced labor of Uyghurs in China is one of several issues that now require, quote, urgent clarification. Do you assist that Uyghur forced labor has and is being used in the People's Republic of China? Did you proactively raise the issue of human rights with PRC officials during your recent visit? Chong asked, noting that a document tabled earlier this month had suggested the contrary. Again, very hard to believe that conservatives, maybe not Mr. Chong personally, but the conservatives are seized with this issue. This is a party, the leader of whom is the most prolific in the House of Commons when it comes to voting against workers' rights. Again, and not particularly keen on workers' rights abroad. He doesn't really much care about them here locally. So again, it just makes the conservatives the oddest choice to be trying to defend this, because these are not values they seem to care about. This seems to be yet another issue that they only care about if it could be used as a inanimate object, a cudgel with which to bash liberals over the head, but probably not something they would do much better on. I mean, again, they signed a 31-year deal with China. All these issues existed back then, of potential forced labor and intellectual property seizing and all that kind of stuff. Ma's attempt to differentiate between China's regions obscures what human rights watchdogs have reported about forced labor as contributing factor in the often cheaper prices of Chinese EVs. Human Rights Watch reports that the Xinjiang region, because it doesn't have the capacity to process metal from its aluminum smelters into the more sophisticated alloys used in the automotive industry, instead produces unalloyed ingots, blocks of unprocessed metal for shipping. Once an aluminum ingot has been melted and mixed with other materials, it is possible to determine whether or how much of it came from Xinjiang, watchdog's report cautions. The report says that unlike other global automakers which responded to questions about forced labor risks in their Chinese supply chains, BYD offered no transparency, something that may give rights-conscious consumers in Canada pause. Tesla makes cars for export in its Gigafactory in Shanghai. The same report said that Tesla was more responsive, and in several cases it had mapped its supply chain back to the mining level and had not found evidence of forced labor. Tesla did not, however, specify how much of the aluminium in its cars remains of unknown origin and so could be linked to Xinjiang, the report said. But Craig Johnston attempted to give Ma a copy of this report after the committee meeting, but he refused to take it. Why? Quote, he told me that he doesn't believe in reports, she told CBC News later. He said that he only believes in things that he can see with his own eyes and that he and I should go to Xinjiang and see if there's any forced labor there. She scoffed at the suggestion. Quote, number one, they would never show him forced labor, which was the point I was making earlier. She said, number two, I've been sanctioned by China for my work with the Uyghurs on forced labor and on other things, so I'm not going to China. With BYD poised to get a toehold in Canada's EV market, companies that manufacture automotive parts using fairly traded Canadian aluminium and steel have more to lose than just market share. Joint ventures with Chinese manufacturers could boost economic growth in Canada, but unless meticulously policed, the risk of reputational harm to Canada's automotive industry remains. Quote, it's recklessly naive to assume that Western standards in labor rights and material sourcing are being upheld in China's auto sector, said Flavio Volpe, the president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. Quote, it's been an issue for years that is only now coming home because Chinese branded exports are landing in Canada's market. Whether the CBSA will prove any more capable of tracking and rejecting aluminium car parts than it performed on clothing or tomato sauce 5 years ago remains an open question. Canada's Fighting Against Forced Labor and Child Labor in Supply Chains Act did strengthen the government's investigative powers. The law passed in 2023 after the Trudeau government was accused of dragging its feet with months of consultations. But the government's approach to reporting on forced labor appears to tiptoe around calling out China specifically. The 2025 annual report required that law only mentions China once, and a short quote from an unnamed organization that purchases supplies. So again, Michael Ma behavior after the committee as well, not particularly great. Prime Minister of Canada appears to be defending our approach to forced labor, according to Catherine Tunney of CBC. This was posted yesterday. Prime Minister Mark Carney defended Canada's efforts to keep products made with forced labor out of the supply chain as one of his newest MPs continues to face backlash for appearing to cast doubt on the practice in China. Carney's response to Michael Ma's performance at committee last week comes during a sensitive moment in both Canada's attempts to reset ties with Beijing and the ongoing trade war with the Trump administration, which is investigating whether its northern neighbor and dozens of other countries are failing to take action on forced labor. Quote, Canada has the most rigorous set of engagements on the issue, Carney said Monday during a news conference in Toronto, where he was repeatedly questioned about his MP's position on forced labor in China. And again, on this one, when it comes to the United States, I have to laugh about taking action on forced labor. Again, given that we know in the United States that there is a school-to-prison pipeline, and a lot of these private prisons have these work project type things where, companies make deals with them for, if not forced labor, extremely cheaply paid labor. And that there's a profit motive there in ensuring that there's enough people in those prisons to be able to provide that cheap labor. Just saying. Last week, Ma, who crossed the floor from the Conservatives to the government side in December, asked an aggressive set of questions at a parliamentary committee while questioning expert witness Margaret McQuaig Johnston, a senior fellow at the University of Ottawa who holds a master's degree in international relations focused on China. The committee is studying the federal government's electric vehicle policies after it announced it would accept tens of thousands of Chinese EVs at a lower tariff rate in exchange for China slashing tariffs on Canadian canola and seafood products. Ma asked her a series of rapid-fire yes or no questions that appeared to seek to question her credibility and undermine allegations of human rights violations against China. Mr. Ma has apologized for his comments, as he should have, said Carney. He's recognized the seriousness of the issue in that apology. He said Ma remains a member of the Liberal caucus and plans to attend a Liberal fundraiser co-hosted by Ma and two cabinet ministers Monday night in the Toronto area. You have Conservatives online losing their minds. Oh my God, I can't believe he's attending a fundraiser of a guy that, whatever. Conservatives nailing themselves to crosses. Probably not the best look, admittedly, but I'm again, I just have to keep on looking at this party. We are talking about a party that had three of its MPs, Dean Allison being one, Leslie Lewis being the other, and the third one I cannot remember off the top of my head, uh, but they had a meal with Christine Anderson of the Alte für Deutschland. And if I remember correctly, pretty much suspected of being a real life as a party, far right party in Germany that has been deemed too far right, even by the far right association with them. Colin Carey is the third one. She visited Canada. There are pictures of them all sitting down to a big lunch. There was no statement officially from the leader of the opposition. There was a lot of people like Briley stating that the leader of the opposition did denounce this, but there was nothing on party letterhead. There was nothing on any party social media. There was nothing on any leader letterhead. There was nothing on any of the leaders' social media that said that, and there were no consequences for Lewis Allison or Kerry. So again, you have a party that is oh my God, I can't believe you're attending the fundraiser for Michael Ma after he seemed to run interference for the government of China on forced labor, says the party that exacted no consequences on three members who decided to dine with a Nazi. Again, they can be right about the issue, and it still sounds weird coming from them, given their own past. The standards that they hold others who are not standards to which they hold themselves. The things that outrage them when other parties do it doesn't seem to outrage them when they do it. So, Mr. Ma has apologized for his comments as he should have, said Carney. He recognized the seriousness of the issue in that apology. Ma later clarified he had been asking about forced labor in Shenzhen, a major Chinese automobile manufacturing hub, the province where the Chinese government has been accused of widespread human rights. After the committee meeting, Craig Johnston posted on social media that she had given Ma a copy of the Human Rights Watch report, quote, asleep at the wheel. The report says there's a risk of Uyghur forced labor being used in car makers' aluminium supply chains. But Craig Johnston said on Monday that she only saw Ma's apology to her after she went and searched for it, which is not how you apologize to someone when you make a mistake in public. You call them up and you apologize, and then you make the point of apologizing in public as well. Carney said his government takes the issue of forced and child labor incredibly seriously, rattling off international conventions Canada has signed on, provisions in the country's free trade agreements, and recent funding to the border agency. We're continually reviewing both the adequacy of that, it's amongst the most rigorous, if not the most rigorous, but also compliance and enforcement mechanisms that are in place, he said. We'll continue to fight on that. Despite the robust defense, the government's own website acknowledges, quote, there is a risk that goods entering the Canadian market through global supply chains were produced using forced labor or child labor. When asked to clarify if he believes there is forced labor in China, Carney said, quote, there are parts of China that are higher risk and therefore require due diligence. The Prime Minister also stressed that forced labor is an issue around the world. Carney said supply chain integrity, including forced labor, will be raised when Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne visits China later this week. Oh, I did not know that there was a visit scheduled for later this week. We'll have to take a look at that. In a separate news conference, Champagne didn't mention China by name when he said, quote, integrity of our supply chain is always something that we bring up in our discussions. The longtime Liberal minister pointed to the creation of the Office of the Canadian Ombudsperson for Responsible Enterprise, CORE, set up under the Trudeau government to crack down on abuses by Canadian corporations abroad, including use of forced labor. The top position has been vacant for months, raising questions about the government's commitment to the office. That is not a good look. Conservative MP Michael Chong, the party's foreign affairs critic, said Canada has, quote, a terrible track record of preventing the importation of products that have been produced using forced labor, and called for stronger, clear condemnation from Carney and his ministers. Quote, I strongly disagree, and I think many experts and many human rights groups would strongly disagree with the Prime Minister's assessment that we have a rigorous system for preventing the importation of these products, he said in an interview with CBC News. Chong called Ma's performance at committee, quote, incredibly damaging for Canada's reputation. It signals to the People's Republic of China that they can intimidate the government of Canada into silence, he said. Despite her run-in with Ma last week, McQuaig-Johnston said she was impressed that Carney named China as a source of forced labor. Quote, I do have some outstanding concerns about that, but I think the Prime Minister's statement today has gone a long way to reassure Canadians that the government is taking forced labor seriously, she said. In a social media post Friday night, the Chinese embassy in Canada pushed back on the allegation that forced labor is used in the production of electric vehicles, calling it, quote, a blatant lie. Sure, Jan. The forced labor dispute also comes as Canada finds itself once again targeted by U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff agenda, with a 25% tariff on Canadian exports at risk. It then mentions, of course, that Canada has been included in that probe of countries that was embarked on under Section 301 of the U.S. Trade Act of 1974. Canada U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc said Ma's comments don't represent the views of the government. Quote, the Americans, I think, know that, he said. We obviously have taken note of the 301 investigation in the United States. We're confident that Canada, like other countries, is doing what's necessary to ensure that those goods aren't imported into Canada. But he said that the government would be, quote, happy to further collaborate with the Americans to, quote, reassure Canadians and the domestic supply chain. It's not the first time Canada has been accused of allowing suspect goods into the country. In 2021, CBC's Marketplace probed evidence of forced labor in supply chains for clothing originating from North Korea and tomato products from Xinjiang. All right. Is there anything that might be a little more recent with regard to this? The most recent thing I can see is 20 hours ago by Spencer Van Dyke of CTV. Whether or not Mark Ma will face any consequences. And of course, it doesn't seem at the moment that that will be the case. And I see that there's nothing additionally different in this article than in one that I recently read to you here into the record. So I will not go into it. There is a little bit of a visual, however, of the Prime Minister here. I think I have a clip where he's being asked about this that I can indeed present to you. I'll just bring it up here for you. And this is, I believe, the Prime Minister taking that question. He was called to drop new MP over Chinese force. That's a report from the National. I was hoping I could get something. For a couple of seconds. So I will buy a little time while that happens, and that has taken place. So here is the Prime Minister here in a, whoops. Okay. Do you hear me, kits and cubs? Because I have a warning on my screen. The phone has stopped. So I will just let you let me know here. Anyone? Oops. Sorry, the chat had frozen. Anyone at all? Do you hear me? Hearded you. Okay, thank you. I do hear you, but I was lagging for a bit. Okay, so that was what that message was. Sorry about that. Don't know why I was lagging. As you can tell, kits and cubs, with the less pixelation, we did fix our internet thing to be able to upload at a higher speed. So I'm actually surprised that I got that message. Thank you. am but one of many. Thank you for being so many, and thank you for being the one of the many. All right, so here we go. The Prime Minister taking the question. Of course, this is bringing up the wrong one. So let's try this one more time. There we go. Here is the Prime Minister. Let's just check that the image is up for you, kits and cubs. Yes, it is. All right, let's play this.
Consequences, if any, will Michael Ma face for his dismissal of forced labor in China?
Well, thanks for the question. The first thing is that Mr. Ma has apologized for his comments, as he should have. He's recognized the seriousness of the issue in that apology. So the first is to recognize up front the seriousness of the issue. He does. He's apologized. He apologized directly to Ms. McQuaig Johnson as well, but then more broadly about the issue. First point. Second is that look, we take this issue of forced labor, child labor, incredibly seriously. Canada has the most rigorous set of engagements on the issue, both in terms of international accords, all 8 relevant conventions of the International Labour Organization, the OECD, the United Nations, embedding provisions in all our free trade agreements as well. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue to fight on that. And then the domestic legislation, from the Tariff Act to the Supply Chain Act to the requirements under the Xinjiang disclosure requirements that are on businesses as well. And what we need to do, if I may, and then I'll hand back, is that continue, and we're continually reviewing both the adequacy of that. It's amongst the most rigorous, if not the most rigorous, but also compliance and enforcement mechanisms that are in place. Adequacy of funding. We just put another $600 million into CBSA, for example, can provide more, and ensuring that we don't just have the standards, but we're enforcing the standards and businesses are following.
Anyone who watched that clip in committee saw his scrum with CBC after, saw one version of his comments, and then he released a statement. How is the public supposed to believe that statement is at all genuine? And are you still attending the fundraiser with him this evening?
2 things. First is Mr. Ma has apologized for his comments and directly and unequivocally recognized the seriousness of the issue, continues to be a member of our caucus, and I'll continue to work with him, including in the issue that you referenced in the second part of your question. This is government event, though, so I don't want to speak about party specific things around fundraising. Thank you.
Your finance minister is going there next week to finalize some deals. Will forced labor be one of the things he will discuss when he's there?
Well, yes, technically I think it might be this week, but he's going there following on with the financial economic dialogue, which was part of our discussions when I was there in January, that we would have a regular dialogue around a series of economic and financial issues. Issues of supply chain integrity, including forced labor, child labor, and ensuring that those standards are in place, will be part of those discussions, I'm certain, and ensuring that we have the adequate transparency for any good from any of our trade partners. I mean, we recognize that this is a global issue that we need to be vigilant on, and not assume that certain countries, that it's not an issue in certain countries, including in certain developed countries, and that's why we need the comprehensive aspect. So yes, would be part of the discussions.
All right, so that's what I got for you on that, kids and cubs. Here, had to say with regard. Again, not the most substantive of answers. If you are looking for a lot of meat on the bones directly responding here, you could hear a lot of screaming in back. There was some type of a mass protest going on around the time that the Prime Minister was there as well. I'm not sure if it was a protest related specifically to these comments or just a general protest anytime a Prime Minister shows up someplace. But yeah, definitely there will probably be more to come with regard to this, given that the Conservatives feel that they've got something rather meaty that they can sink their teeth into. So I think that we'll probably be hearing about this for a while yet. With regard to the finance minister's visit to China this week, according to Michael Woods of the CBC, it says that he will be visiting China from Tuesday until Saturday, meeting with government and business leaders in a bid to attract new investments and build partnerships, according to the release. Says here that the leaders of China and Canada had, at their last meeting, had set a new target of increasing Canadian exports to China by 50% in the next 5 years. However, other Chinese tariffs on Canadian goods, such as pork, have remained in place. Carney said Monday that Champagne is going to further the, quote, regular dialogue around a series of economic and financial issues were part of the discussions when the Prime Minister visited. The Carney government has sought to diversify Canadian trade partners amid uncertainty about the Canada-U.S. trade relationship and U.S. President Donald Trump's ongoing tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminium, lumber, and autos. After Carney's trip in January, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened a 100% tariff on all Canadian goods entering the U.S. if Canada makes a deal with China, but he did not specify in his social media post what he meant by, quote, a deal. Carney then said Canada has no intention of pursuing a free trade agreement with China. Negotiations on renewing the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement, or CUSMA, began earlier this month. Champagne's trip also comes as the Liberals face questions about one of their MPs casting doubt on the use of forced labor in China. During a committee hearing last week, and Michael Ma asked a series of questions of expert witness Margaret McQuaig-Johnston, as we told you about here. Apparently, he has apologized not only online but to her personally, according to the Prime Minister. So hopefully that is indeed the case. François-Philippe Champagne suggested that he will indeed bring it up in conversations that he has on the trip. Quote, the integrity of our supply chain is always something that we bring up in our discussions, he said. We condemn forced labor in all its forms everywhere in the world. Canada has always been at the forefront of having very stringent labor standards in our trade agreements. So that's all I got about that. The last thing I want to mention very quickly before we go, I still had a little bit more, but I do want to try to finish on today. You know what? I'm actually going to call it a show for now, kits and cubs, because I don't think there's enough time to get into the issue of looking at some various opinion pieces on Abby Lewis having become the NDP leader. There was a little too much behavior that was a little sketchy to talk about today. And I still have one more on the list, but there'll be other opportunities to work in, no doubt. So with that, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops about us. We really appreciate it when you do, especially when you share a little bit of yourself by saying why it is that our content has resonated with you. If you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, one of the ways you can do that is by scanning this QR code, which will bring you to our YouTube page, True North Eager Beaver. And there you can click on our buttons. Go ahead and smash away, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. When you click on those, it helps us with the algorithm and people find us. And yes, we have recently crossed 29,000 subscribers. So let's see if we can make it to 30. That would be absolutely fantastic. And that would be high for us on our YouTube channel. Please click on our subscribe button, particularly if you are already on our YouTube channel and you haven't already, because that's one of the easiest ways you can help us. And we do thank you for all of your support. Like, share, and subscribe. Click them today. Click them every day. Hey. And if you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, let's say financially, because we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, especially now that we're back being fully independent and some of our costs are a little higher this year than they were last year. You can scan this QR code and it will bring you to the Eager Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, otherwise known as our coffee page. If you're online, you can look at that coffee, ko-fi.ca Is it com? See, I've forgotten the address now of our coffee page. That is terrible. Wow. So yes, it's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. That's our coffee page. And you can go there and make a donation. We are set up for one-time donation or a recurring donation if you would like to do that. And we're always grateful for your support, kids and cubs. And when you donate through our coffee, we get 95 to 97% of your donation. You can also donate on our YouTube page with memberships and super chats. We get about 70% of your donation there. And if you are doing the Buy Canadian thing, direct bank transfer to our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, makes it a transaction that goes from Canadian institution to Canadian institution with no service fees or charges. And we get 100% of your donation when you donate that way. We thank you for all the ways that you support us. And if you're not able to support us financially, kids and cubs, remember that the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter most to us. And we want you to contribute in other ways. So you can use that same email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, to let us know what you think about the show, good, bad, or ugly, to give us some gifts or some guest suggestions for our interview project shows, some topics of discussion for the podcast. Thank you, everyone who joined us last Saturday for that. It was a wonderful time. And we have our hashtags, Kids Who Cook, if you are making something yummy, Kids Who Craft, if you are designing or artistically inclined and making something beautiful, and Kids Who Cultivate, if you are a gardener. And again, we are asking for some early season gardening tips of what we should plant, that type of stuff, because as we're entering into April, it might be time for some still cold crops. So if you have any suggestions on what it is we can plant and some specific technique things that we need to know, please send them to us. We are very grateful for your help and assistance. Of course, you can reach us on our socials at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Shitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook. We have our Instagram, we have the Damn Fam Discord, we have our Substack, lots of places where you can find us, of course. So please do not hesitate. And right here on our YouTube page down below in the comment section is where you can leave us a few words as well. We read everything you write, even though we're not able to answer everybody, and everything you contribute, whether in dollar or in deed, goes back into the show to make it better for you. So thank you so much for all of your contributions. Because democracy is something that you do on the 12th of April, Kids and Cubs coming up, is the day that the CAQ will release and let us know who its new leader is. So I'm sure that voting must be underway, if not soon. So please cast your vote there. In British Columbia, same thing is happening with the BC Conservatives. The results will be coming in May for that. So please participate there. We have by-elections on the 13th in University Rosedale, Scarborough Southwest, and Terrebonne. Remember, friends, don't allow friends to do democracy alone. So bring some friends with you, talk about it, plan your vote, and maybe perhaps call Elections Canada and say that you're available to work at a polling station. These are remunerated positions, and it's definitely a wonderful experience. It's probably some of the most validating work that you might do over the next while. So please take advantage of the opportunity to help with the electoral process and make it convenient and easy for your fellow Canadians to vote. It's always a good time. I recommended that everybody do it at least once in their life. I have, and it was a wonderful experience. And I hope to do it again one day, maybe when I'm not doing this anymore. Because there are rules about me being able to do this and volunteer at a polling station at the same time. So it makes it a little more tricky for me to get back there and doing it again. But for you, however, it could be a wonderful experience, and I hope that you take advantage of it at some point. We also have Kits and Cubs House of Commons petition. E7148. You go to ourcommons.ca, look up petitions, and look up petition 7148, which is a petition that is calling upon the House of Commons to require all federal party leaders to obtain and maintain top secret security clearance. We have one who's a cheese who stands alone, who really doesn't want to seem to get it, and really should. We have 41,745 signatures on that. Can we get to 42,000 before the end of the day, Kids and Cubs? Let's hope so. including a little petition link here, and that there are some membership gifts being handed out in the chat today. So to everyone who has received one, congratulations. Enjoy your membership. I hope you enjoy it in good health and use it frequently, and decide that you like it so much that you decide to buy one. There we go. All right. Do we have any other democracy is something that you do things? Oh, yes. One other thing that I wanted to mention, it's coming up here, but Gil McGowan, who is the leader of the Alberta Federation of Labor, if I am not mistaken, has announced that on Friday, May 29th, there will be a major protest in the province of Alberta. Says here that the Federation and its affiliates, quote, are going to work together with any and all of our fellow Albertans who will join us in an organized province-wide day of protest on Friday, May 29th. Quote, the Smith government has gone rogue, he said. They're implementing an agenda that Albertans didn't vote for and which the majority of us don't support. Says here that in its press release, the Alberta Federation of Labor outlined a long list of measures it says the government is planning to impose without consent, including what the Federation describes as two-tier healthcare compounded by chronic underfunding and understaffing of the public system, increased public funding for private schools while public schools face what it calls the lowest funding levels in Canada, and continued discussion about pulling Alberta out of the Canada Pension Plan and the RCMP. The AFL also points to proposed coal mines and the headwaters of rivers that supply much of the province's water. It further criticized what it's called increased use of the notwithstanding clause to override constitutional rights, including the right to strike, along with deeper economic and political integration with the United States President Donald Trump's America, and referendum questions it says are designed to scapegoat immigrants and divide Albertans. The Federation went on to allege the government is blocking investigations into its own scandals while paving the way for a separatist referendum aimed at turning Alberta into the 51st state. Quote, yes, the Premier and her colleagues won a narrow majority in the last election, McGowan said, but they did not win a mandate for any of this. Additionally, McGowan criticized the government's recent announcement of a 9-question referendum on immigration. Quote, you don't get to call it a democracy when you write the questions yourself and ignore what people are actually worried about, he said. So yes, May 29th protests will feature union leaders and workers in sectors including healthcare, education, construction, energy, retail, and public services at coordinated demonstrations across the province. It will mark the first in what the AFL describes as a series of pushbacks against the governing United Conservative Party, including a civil society summit later in the spring aimed at bringing together labor leaders, community organizations, and advocates. So yeah, there you go. Get ready for that, Alberta, on the 20th. It's going to be a big day here. It's going to be maybe a no Queens protest against Annie, or no tyrants. It works as well. But yeah, Alberta is going to have a mass protest on May 29th. So again, make sure that you are preparing to plan for your participation in that. All right. That's all I got for you today. So I guess we're at the words of wisdom part, kids and cubs. My words of wisdom is, well, you know, it is spring, and I'm seeing outside the window here that we have some rain, definitely. So make sure that you have some good waterproof shoes for navigating either rain or slush season, depending where you are in the country at this particular time of year. Keep your boots handy. It's not time to switch over to running shoes just yet, or at least not on a permanent basis. Those are my words of wisdom. Kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, may I have, at the count of 3, kids and cubs, audience participation in the form of you saying, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, on 2, and on 3. Oh, yeah, that is the juicy stuff right there. That's the stuff that makes my little beaver heart happy. And since you asked so nicely, here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo just for you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, and we have a little bit of news of Canadians who make us proud. Our athletes, again, doing a great job for us. Our first one has to do, this is Haley McGoldrick, who writes for Olympic.ca, talking about some ski crossers, particularly Reese Howden, who earned second place finish at the FIS Ski Cross World Cup in Cagliari, I think it is, Sweden, the final stop of the 25-26 campaign. Howden had seen Simone de Romedis, of Italy take the lead at the start of the big final. After managing to catch up in the final turn of the course, a photo finish was needed to separate the two skiers, with the Italian edging out Howden. Among the other Canadians in contention, Jared Schmidt won the small final to finish 5th, while Christopher Mahler finished 21st. But with those two second-place finishes, Howden finishes the 25-26 season with the Crystal Globe, securing first place in the overall standings with a 311-point lead over runner-up de Romedis. In the women's competition, Hannah Schmidt finished 6th after placing second in the small final. Marielle Thompson finished 14th. The day before, Howden had also finished second, this time behind David Moberg of Sweden, achieving back-to-back podiums. For her part, Hannah Schmidt also made it onto the podium, taking 3rd place. It was a brilliant season for Howden, who scored 6 wins in addition to adding 4 other podium finishes in the 16 World Cup races of the season. So fantastic news for him. And also here, some good news, but sad news for us as Canadians as we say goodbye to a legend. Michael Kingsbury, of course, the king, king of not only the Moguls, of course, but probably king of pretty much all sports. I think of all star, he personally has the highest conversion rate of participations to actual wins. This is the guy, the man, the legend, Michael Kingsbury himself here. But he has finally retired after a very, very long and storied career, which brought him a lot of success. Well, of course, like I said, greatest of all time. According to Paula Nichols for Olympics.ca, just over a month after he added 2 more Olympic medals to his already overflowing trophy case, Michael Kingsbury will finish off his freestyle skiing career on his home hill. The undisputed greatest mogul skier of all time is saying goodbye to his competitive career at the Canadian Freestyle Ski Championships at Sommet Saint-Sauveur, the place where it all began 25 years ago. From that 8-year-old boy who joyfully learned to ski the bumps and jumps to the 33-year-old whose name can be found all over the history books, Kingsbury has been on the most incredible ride. He entered his first FIS World Cup event in January 2010 when he was just 17 years old. He stood on his first World Cup podium in December 2010, followed quickly the same month by his first World Cup victory. Fast forward 16 years to January 2026, on home snow in Val-Saint-Côme, Quebec, Kingsbury stood on a World Cup podium for the last time, celebrating his 100th career World Cup victory, the first male freestyle skier to ever reach that milestone. It was his 143rd World Cup podium in 169 starts on the circuit. So, 169 starts, 100 victories, and 143 times on the podium. So 100 victories at 169 and 43 other times of the 69 that he did not win where he was on the podium. If you do the math, he only missed 26 podiums throughout his entire World Cup career. That is just ridiculously good. That success added up to him winning 29 Crystal Globes. Starting in 2011-12, Kingsbury won the overall World Cup title for moguls and all of freestyle skiing for 9 straight seasons. The only thing that put a halt to his streak was an injury that took him out for most of 2021. He went on to the top combined moguls, duels, moguls standing each of the next 4 seasons. Kingsbury was just as dominant a presence at the FIS World Cup Championships, winning 15 medals in 16 starts. 9 of those were gold. In 2019, 21, and 2023, he was the world champion of both moguls and dual moguls. Of course, we'll remember him for the 5 Olympic medals he won, the most ever by a male freestyle skier. It started with the silver medal in his Olympic debut at Sochi 2014, where he shared the podium with gold medalist teammate Alex Bilodeau. 4 years later, at the peak of his dominance, Kingsbury claimed his Olympic crown at Pyeongchang 2018 after another silver medal at Beijing 2022. He went to his 4th Olympic Games with 2 medal chances for the first time. The men's mogul event at Milano Cortina 2026 could not have been any closer. Kingsbury had to settle for the silver medal on a tiebreaker after earning the same total score as gold medalist Cooper Woods. Fueled by a desire to break Canada's gold medal drought at the Games and become the first ever Olympic champion in men's dual moguls, Kingsbury delivered one of his finest performances ever. But it's not the images of him celebrating at the finish line or with his eyes closed on the podium that will live on in most people's memories. Instead, it's the moment spent with his son Henrik, showing him how sweet an Olympic medal can taste, that will always remind us of the pleasure we had watching a kid become a king who fulfilled all his childhood dreams. And there you go, kids and cubs. That's all I got for you today. And with that, I say amour et bisous. See you again tomorrow. Bye, everyone. And of course, to the king, thank you for such a great run for so long. Enjoy your retirement. Well deserved.